6:30.
Thank you, members, for attending the Justice Committee this afternoon. Just to advise members that you're welcome to use the mobile devices as long as they are in airplane mode and all devices are muted. This includes the members' tablet devices and they can connect to the Assembly Wi-Fi. We are obliged to declare any financial or other relevant interests which might be reasonably thought by others to influence our approach to the matters under consideration. Any members who have any interest to declare in relation to today's business should do so now or when the particular matter arises in the meeting. Agenda item 1 are apologies. I have an apology from Emma Rogan, and just to advise that we have Gemma, Rachel, Doug, Sinead and Peter all joining us on Starleaf. So you've left me on my own Todd in here, along of course with the staff. There's nothing from Robin yet, but hopefully he will be here shortly. In regards to the delegation of votes under Standing Orders 1156, Emma Rogan has delegated her vote to the Deputy Chair, Sinead Ennis, and Robin has delegated his vote to me should that need arise later on. Agenda item 2 are the draft minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of March, and you'll find that at pages 5 to 15 in reference to the meeting held on the 3rd of March. Are you content that these minutes are a true reflection of the proceedings on that date? Content? Thank you. Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, matters arising. Item 1, and it's just this one item, it's a request from the Criminal Justice Inspection Northern Ireland. At our meeting last week, the committee noted an update that was provided by the Department of Justice on the current position regarding the implementation of the action plan to address the findings and recommendations of the Criminal Justice Inspection Report and the care and treatment of victims and witnesses by the criminal justice system in Northern Ireland. The CJI have asked if the committee would share with it a copy of the update on the action plan, so as to get approval from the committee that we would share that action plan. Agreed? Thank you. That brings us then to agenda item 4, the draft SR Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment Order Northern Ireland 2022. Relevant information is found at page 18 to 36. This statutory rule is made under Article 6.13 of the Rehabilitation of Offenders Northern Ireland Order 1978. The rule will amend the table of rehabilitation bans under Article 6 of the 78 Order to reorganise the custody bounds under which convictions are grouped for rehabilitation purposes, reduce the existing rehabilitation periods for those convictions that are currently capable of becoming spent, and raise the upper limit for convictions that can currently spend from 30 months to 10 years. The departmental officials outlined the results of the consultation and the proposed way forward at our meeting on the 17th of February, subsequently provided further information on the judicial review taken against the terms of the existing scheme that was supported by the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission and the list of consultees used by the department as part of this consultation. The committee agreed at our meeting on the 24th of February that we were content with the proposal for the statutory rule, which is subject to the draft affirmative procedure. The department has advised that there has been no change to the policy content of the SL1 that was considered by the committee, and the examiner of statutory rules raised no concerns of the technical elements of the statutory rule in her report dated the 4th of March. Are we content with the statutory rule? And if we're content, then I'll put the question. The Committee for Justice has considered draft SR, the Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment Order Northern Ireland 2022, recommends that it be approved by the Assembly. Approved? Approved. Thank you. Just for information, members, the views of, just to advise members that I will outline the views of the committee in the debate on the statute rule, which is provisionally scheduled for the 21st of March. So if you notice the indicative timings, it's on the Monday, the 21st of March, so that members have time to prepare for that. That brings us to agenda item 5, is the draft statutory rule in relation to the domestic abuse information sharing with schools regulations, Northern Ireland 2022. The relevant information is at pages 38 to 55 of the meeting pack. This statutory rule, made under section 26 of the Domestic Abuse and Civil Proceedings Northern Ireland Act 2021, will provide for an operation encompass model for Northern Ireland, which is a police and education early prevention partnership, enabling support for children and young people who are experiencing domestic abuse. Having sought the views of the Committee for Education, Committee for the Economy and the Committee for Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, as the regulations will impact on the remit of their departments and who all indicated their support, the Committee agreed at our meeting on the 17th of February that we were content with the proposal for the statutory rule, which is subject to the draft affirmative procedure. The Department has advised that there has been no change in the policy content of the SL1 considered by the Committee, and the Examiner of Statutory Rules raised no concerns on the technical elements of the statutory rule in her report dated the 4th of March. And so, if we're content with the statutory rule, I will put the question that the Committee for Justice has considered the draft statutory rule, Domestic Abuse Information Sharing with Schools Regulations Northern Ireland 2022, and recommends that it is approved by the Assembly. Approved?
Approved.
Thank you. Just again, members, that statutory rule is provisionally scheduled for Tuesday, the 22nd. So we have ones on Tuesday, and we have ones on Monday, we have one on Tuesday. So we're going to keep at these right up until the very wire. So, and there's more to come. Item agenda 6 is the draft statutory rule, the Police Act 1997, Criminal Record Certificates, Relevant Matters Amendment Order, Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find that at pages 57 to 75. This statutory rule, made under section 113A7 of the Police Act 1997, will enable the new domestic abuse offence convictions of the domestic abuse offence with child aggravators, as well as the current convictions for other offences for which there is a domestic abuse aggravator, to be disclosed as part of the Access NI disclosure process. Provision is also made in relation to the disclosure of non-court disposals for domestic abuse offence on the standard and enhanced applications. The Committee agreed at our meeting on the 17th of February that we were content with the proposal for the statutory rule, which is subject to the draft affirmative procedure. The Department has advised that there has been no change to the policy content since the SL1 was considered by the Committee, and the Examiner of Statutory Rules raised no concerns of the technical elements of the statutory rule in her report dated the 1st of March 2022. And if we're content with the statutory rule, I'll put the question that the Committee for Justice has considered the draft statutory rule, the Police Act 1997, Criminal Record Certificate, Relevant Matters Amendment Order, Northern Ireland 2022, and recommends that it is approved by the Assembly. Approved? Again, that particular schedule, that particular statutory rule is provisionally scheduled for Tuesday the 22nd. Agenda item 7 is the statutory rule 2022/65 Parole Commissioners Amendment Rules, Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find that at pages 77 to 93. The statutory rule, made under Article 105 of Paragraph 4 of Schedule 4 to the Criminal Justice Northern Ireland Order 2008, will provide clarification on the number of commissioners to be engaged in producing summaries of decisions when requested by victims or other persons, to ensure value for money and an efficient process in relation to the remuneration of parole commissioners. It will also remove references to the single commissioner and relevant panel and replace the term commissioner to make it clear that the process to provide a summary of reasons will be undertaken by a single commissioner, thus ensuring value for money in relation to the transactional costs. The committee agreed at our meeting on the 1st of July 21 that it was content with the proposal for the statute rule, which is subject to the negative resolution procedure. The Department wrote to us on the 3rd of March 2022 to advise that the subsequent delay in making the rule was due to resourcing pressures and that has not prevented requests for summaries being made under Rule 2022A. The Department has also advised that the SL1 considered by the committee did not explicitly reference an appeal mechanism that is included in the statutory rule, which is considered procedurally fair and may avert an applicant proceeding straight to the only other alternative of judicial review proceedings where a request for a summary of reasons has been refused. The examiner of statutory rules raised no concerns on the technical elements of the statutory rule in her report dated the 4th of March 2022. If we're content with the statutory rule, then I'll put the question to the committee. The Committee for Justice has considered Statutory Rule 2022/65, the Parole Commissioners Amendment Rules Northern Ireland 2022, and has no objection to the rule. Agreed?
Agreed.
Agenda item 8 is an SR 2022-73, the Judicial Pensions Amendment Regulations Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find that on pages 95 to 106 of today's pack. This statutory rule, made under the Public Services Pension Act Northern Ireland 2014, will support the provisions in the Public Service Pension and Judicial Offices Bill by making amendments that are needed to the 2015 pension scheme in light of the age discrimination remedies in the bill, including changes in relation to the partial retirement from the 2015 pension scheme. The committee agreed at our meeting on the 24th of February that it was content with the proposal for the statutory rule, which is subject to the negative resolution procedure. The Department of Justice has confirmed that there has been no change to the policy content of the proposal since the SL was considered by the committee, and the examiner of statutory rules has raised no concerns on the technical elements of the statutory rule in her report dated 4th of March. So if we're content with the statutory rule, I'll put the question that the Committee for Justice has considered SR 2022/73, the Judicial Pensions Amendment Regulations Northern Ireland 2022, and has no objection to the rule. Members, we will take the next 4 agenda items together as they all relate to the same piece of legislation following the licensing changes. So that is item 9, which is an SL1, the County Courts Amendment No. 2 Rules, Northern Ireland 2022. Agenda item 10, SL1, the Magistrates Courts Licensing Amendment Rules, Northern Ireland 2022. Agenda item 11, SL1, the County Court Amendment Rules, Northern Ireland 2022, and the SL1 Magistrates Courts Licensing Amendment Rules, Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find all of those at pages 108 to 147. Department of Justice is proposing to make these 4 statutory rules, which will be subject to the negative resolution procedure under Article 47 of the County Courts Northern Ireland Order 1980 and Article 13 of the Magistrates Courts Northern Ireland Order 1981. The proposed rules will make a number of consequential and technical amendments to the relevant court rules, which prescribe the forms to be used and information to be provided with the applications as a result of the licensing and registration of clubs Amendment Act Northern Ireland 2021. Our meeting on the 3rd of February, the committee considered the 2 proposals, which are at agenda items 9 and 10, and the department advised at the time that provision was also to be made for consequential amendments relating to section 11 of the 2021 Act, which allows local producers to apply for an order to specify any part of their premises as suitable for the sale and consumption of intoxicating liquor produced on the premises. However, Legal advice had indicated that primary legislation was needed for this and therefore would not be commenced at that time. The committee agreed to ask the Department for information on the work being undertaken to rectify this issue and when the necessary primary legislation was expected to be taken forward. The Department for Communities, which has the primary responsibility for the matter, has now received updated advice and will be proceeding to allow Section 11 of the Act to be commenced in anticipation of this being commenced before the election. The Department of Justice has provided the proposals for the consequential court rules amendments that it will bring forward, and these are included in agenda items 11 and 12. While the rules cannot be made at this stage, the Department has indicated that it would be helpful if the committee could consider the proposals today. The Committee for the Communities has also written to ask that the Committee for Justice, as far as possible, expedite the secondary legislation to support local producers. The Department has also advised that the two proposals at agenda item 9 and 10 are of some urgency as they relate to provisions that will commence on the 6th of April 2022. And if we're content with the proposals for the 4 statutory rules or whether we require any further information or clarification. Content? Rachel?
Thanks, Chair. Just very quickly, I don't want to, there's nothing wrong with these ones. It's just how, I would just be interested to know if and how the department are communicating with local producers. I saw in the Department for Communities letters that they're notifying representative bodies, but I'm not aware of major regional bodies there. And certainly I've been lobbied on it and asked for updates on when this is happening. So would just like to know how this is being communicated with those local producers affected.
Okay, you can write to the department. Yes. Yep. Thank you. Thanks for that, Rachel. That brings us then to agenda item 13, the strategic framework for youth justice in Northern Ireland, and that's an update and it's a written paper. And you'll find that at pages 150 to 364 of today's meeting pack, and also pages 3 to 9 of the table pack for further information. At our meeting on the 16th of December 21, the committee considered a first draft of the strategic framework for youth justice and associated action plan, which the department intended to share with criminal justice partners and key stakeholders across the children's sector for their views, and agreed to request further information on a number of issues. The committee subsequently noted the further information from the department, which included the potential timescale for legislative proposals to raise the minimum age of criminal responsibility in Northern Ireland, the legislative vehicle for a statutory right to bail, and the development of a children's justice bill and a copy of the child-friendly questionnaire which was used to engage with children and young people on the new strategic framework. The committee agreed to forward the additional information to the Northern Ireland Commissioner for Children and Young People and the children's organisations. The committee had previously met informally to discuss a range of concerns regarding youth justice for views, comments on the draft strategic framework and action plan. The Children's Commissioner responded on the 11th of February and referred to the previous detailed advice she provided to the department when it shared a draft of the framework in April. She has stated that the department does not appear to have sufficiently addressed the advice in the draft framework. She remains of the view that there is still significant work to be done to better streamline the youth justice agencies, earlier stage intervention working more collaboratively with other agencies and the voluntary and community sectors, but is broadly in support of the direction of travel on the other areas of work. The Commissioner has also advised that the Minister time must be taken to implement a proper co-production process that involves all relevant stakeholders, particularly children and young people, and that includes a child rights impact assessment. So the children's organisations have, just this morning, provided a copy of a letter they sent to the Minister yesterday in relation to the strategic framework, with a copy of a presentation for a meeting held with the Minister on the 26th of January, which sets out the outstanding recommendations from the 2011 Youth Justice Review. The papers can be found at pages 3 to 9 of the table pack. The letter indicates that while the children's organisations are committed to progressing change by working with the Department for the best outcomes for children and young people in a meaningful co-design process, they do not believe that the framework as it stands acts as a blueprint for the way forward, and that a further co-production and co-design with children and young people is required. Given the potential for differential adverse impacts, the children's organisations also state that it must be screened in and a full EQIA undertaken in respect to it. The Minister has now signed off on the final version of the strategic framework for youth justice for 2022-27 and the related 5-year action plan, and the Department has provided a copy of both together with a copy of the framework summary and a summary of the engagement with children on the framework. The Department has also indicated that despite the consultation that has taken place, a number of the children's sector's organisations have been critical of the engagement process and would have preferred either the implementation of the outstanding recommendations from the 2011 Youth Justice Review or to start from a blank page on a co-production basis. However, the Minister was very clear that from the start that the premise of the work was to build on the transitioning youth justice document as recommended by the Northern Ireland Audit Office report rather than start from scratch, and the framework would be published within the current mandate. So I have no doubt there are some issues that will be raised in relation to this. Rachel.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, certainly are some issues to be raised in this. I wonder if we could ask, first of all, why an equality impact assessment wasn't carried out.
Yes.
Just as a starter, I have a load of questions, and I'm more than happy to run through them and then send them over, depending on the committee's, the will of the committee, obviously. In terms of the strategic framework document, I have a number of questions just on how many responses to the child-friendly questionnaire did the department receive. I would like to know about where the rest of the Youth Justice Review 2011 recommendations are, and are they just not going to be progressed now in light of this? What work is going on, if any, on the development of the Children's Justice Bill for next mandate and an estimated time for that? The resource implications of this framework and what bid is coming in for next financial year, if any, to roll this out. There's a part in the Minister's forward which it says that there's overrepresentation in children in custody and having suitable bail addresses. That's a key issue. So what is the department doing to ensure that children in custody do have appropriate bail addresses whenever they're being released? The page 33 as well is concerning to me on the development that is written on the pilot of rolling out the Youth Justice Agency HSC joint CAM service across Northern Ireland. But during our budget discussions, Chair, this was something that was discussed at a number of meetings about the budgets being cut. So if it's in this strategic framework document, you know, how then are we giving with one hand and taking away with another? Again, page 54, things that we know there's an over-representation of children from a care background in custody already. So instead of committing the research, what actual actions are coming from that, because those statistics are well known. And then on terms of the last point is on page 55, with regard to minimum age of criminal responsibility. It says the outcome of a public consultation on minimum age of criminal responsibility, which will be used to inform the debate on this issue. I am at odds to know what consultation, when, and who by. It's certainly not something that has ever been discussed with ourselves, and I have a keen interest in this area, so I would just want to know where that's happening and by who, and if we have any time frame on that. But again, I'm happy to send these over should they want to extend that to the department.
Yeah, because and just that last point you made, Rachel, and I, if there's any other member can remember this, and Rachel, you've been here from the previous, for a while on this committee. No, I wasn't going to say that. But there was no, I'm not aware of any consultation that there was on that particular issue. You know, so it's always a concern that you think sometimes something can be easily put into a piece of correspondence and then can be taken as fact at some later stage. You know, so I think that is, you know, those questions are valid and need to be raised. So if you could send those over, then those will be forwarded to the department. Any other comments? Sinead? Ennis?
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Chair. No, just to echo my support for what Rachel has outlined there, and I think, given the fact that there are, it's not just one or two, a number of the organisations are critical of the department's engagement process. I think we have to sit up and take notice of that. And while I recognise the Children's Commissioner has given a cautious welcome, she too has her reservations and issues around co-production of the framework as well. So I think we need to go back to the department with our concerns, and Rachel's outlined them pretty succinctly there. So I'm sure she'll send them over. But just to say, we support the issues that are raised, and we need some more information from the department as to how they're going to address those concerns going forward, because it's not as it's presented. I don't think it's a workable document as it's presented.
I think the risk in all of this now is, and that's why we're better raising, and obviously we would have concerns while we may be in a different space in terms of some of the issues around raising the age of criminal consent and so on. I think for the Minister to proceed and to sign off on the final version of the strategic framework on the back of a meeting which he had back in, was it the 26th of January, with the organisations and the representatives, but yet all those concerns are the concerns that they've relayed to us, haven't been addressed, and yet the Minister still proceeded to sign off. So I think that we can convey all of that in a correspondence to the department, ever mindful that we're getting closer to that date, but we still have 2 weeks anyway, and we will get those off. Okay, thank you. If there's no other comment in relation to that, thanks for. Let's make sure. Yep. That brings us to item agenda 14. I don't think we've ever got to item agenda 14 in the shortest period of time in all the time that I've been here. And it's in relation to the EU exit and justice-related issues. You'll find that all at pages 366 to 389. We had requested as a committee that the department provide an update on the EU exit and justice-related issues, including progress in a number of key areas across the law enforcement, security and criminal justice. The update covers a range of issues such as extradition, biometric exchange arrangements, passenger name recognition, Europol, Eurojust, exchange of criminal records, the assets freezing and confiscation, as well as information on Northern Ireland Protocol, costs, ministerial events and the impact of the UK exit from the Lango Convention. So all of that is contained in pages 366 to 389, and it's for members to note unless there's any other comment to make. Rachel?
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick question. I'm just wondering if we could get some information on how and what kind of engagement does the department have with the office of the Executive Office in Brussels, and how the work of that office over in Brussels is translated down into the department, and sort of keeping the horizon scanning on any upcoming justice issues.
Okay, agreed. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Agenda item 15 is the revised domestic abuse offences guidance, and that's a written paper at pages 391 to 456. And the statutory guidance associated with the new domestic abuse offence was published in March of 2021. The guidance has been revised to reflect that the offence is now operational. There are no material changes to the guidance, with the revisions only including textual changes to ensure it reflects the most up-to-date position with the offence now operational, and up-to-date some references to police statistics. The review of the guidance will be undertaken in line with the requirements of the legislation once the offence has been fully bedded in, and this is likely to be in 18 to 24 months' time. Any future material revisions will be done in consultation with the multi-agency task and finish group, consisting of members from both statutory and voluntary sector organisations, as well as other government departments who helped inform the content of the guidance. And it's to note, but I have Sinead Bradley first and then Rachel.
Thanks, Chair. I'm really glad to see this, and I have to say, I also commend how it's written. I think it is presented with real clarity. But I'm not aware, and I would just be curious to know, the clerk might even be able to advise me, I'm not sure, in terms of it's being published, and I know it's in the library, but what is the process in making that available? I'm thinking to, for example, family lawyers or frontline services that we met along the way. I know they were actually, some of them were part in drafting this up, such as Women's Aid. But how well is this circulated? Because it is a very, very valuable document. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Sinead, I'm not really sure. Is it put on the department's website? But then again,
yeah, I'm sure it is put on the department's website, and I suspect that they circulate it around all the criminal justice organisations and also the stakeholder organisations that are involved in the group that works on it, probably. But I'm not sure how much wider, but we can check, Sinead, and ask them.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sinead. Rachel, had you a question?
It was an old plan, sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Any other queries? No. Thank you, members. What's in that? Agenda item 16. And this is Stopping Domestic and Sexual Violence and Abuse 7-year strategy, 6-year action plan, an update, and that's a written paper which is at pages 458 to 474. The Department has provided the update on the delivery of the Year 6 action plan for the Stopping Domestic and Sexual Violence and Abuse 7-year strategy. They've indicated that the criminal justice actions in the Year 6 plan have been completed or are due to be completed by the end of this financial year, with the exception of the Domestic Violence Court, for which there is some delay in the introduction given ongoing discussion with operational partners. The Year 6 progress report and a Year 7 action plan setting out how the department will take forward the final year of the current strategy will be produced in the coming months. This issue of the Domestic Violence Court has been around for some time, and I suppose there is an issue about what does it really mean and who are these operational partners. And I see Rachel smiling, so I must have read her mind, because that was probably what it is. Rachel, do you want to make a comment?
Please, you don't want to read my mind, Chair. But yes, in this case, yes, I would just sort of some information with what these issues are, and if there's an estimated time of when said issues would be overcome. And I suppose I've just 2 further points on the action plan, but if that I can wait until that point is done.
Okay, thank you. No other questions? Thank you, members. That brings us to agenda item 17. It's the progress to implement the Northern Ireland Audit Office and Public Accounts recommendation and the action plans to address the legal aid, fraud and error, and that's an updated written paper. You'll find that on pages 476 to 591. And the department has provided an update on the progress by the Legal Services Agency to implement the recommendations to the Northern Ireland Audit Office and the Public Accounts Committee reports. The information provided includes updates on the agency fraud and error action plan, and the action plan to implement the recommendation of the Business Consultancy Service final report on a review of progress, governance and structures in Legal Service Agency. Any comments from members? Okay, happy to note. Thank you. Agenda item 18. publication of the strategy for supporting women and girls in contact with the justice system. Again, it's a written paper, pages 593 to 767. The departmental officials attended our meeting on the 30th of September 21 to outline the development of a draft strategy for supporting and challenging women and girls in contact with the justice system, and the result of a public consultation. Following the oral evidence session, the committee agreed that it was content to note the results of the consultation and consider the draft strategy and associate action plan provided by the department. They've now provided a copy of the final version of the strategy, and it's now called Supporting Change, a Strategy for Women and Girls in or at Risk of Contact with the Justice System. And has outlined the main changes that has been made. An easy read version titled Our Plan to Help Women and Girls Move Away from Crime has also been provided. And just to advise members that, subject to the views of the committee, the department envisages launching its strategy on the 23rd of March. And are we content to note the Supporting Change, a Strategy for Women and Girls in or at Risk of Contact with the Justice System, or whether we wish to submit any further views or comments? Rachel?
Thanks, Chair. And again, just on budget for the next couple of financial years, is there any resource bids gone in for this to be implemented?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Correspondence, item 19. There are 10 items of correspondence at pages 770 to 919 of the meeting pack, and 5 items at pages 14 to 69 of the table pack. I'll draw your attention to just one of the items in the table pack, and then if members have any other queries or questions in relation to any other correspondence, that we can do so. The one that I want to raise is item 1913 at page 14 to 34 of the table pack, and it's a response from the Department of Justice providing its assessment of Dr. David Lowe's proposals for a bespoke prevent strategy for Northern Ireland, is requested by the committee to assist in consideration of his request for a meeting to discuss his proposals. The department has set out the range of legislative and non-legislative programmes already in place in Northern Ireland which address the aims of the prevent strategy, including initiatives relating to military activity, organised crime and sectarianism, and advises that many of the areas highlighted in Dr. Lowe's proposals are currently being progressed by the department in partnership with the criminal justice agencies and a wide range of other departments, statutory agencies and the voluntary and community sector. It is the department's assessment that a bespoke prevent strategy for Northern Ireland is not necessary at this time, nor would it add value to the existing work being undertaken. So, are we content to advise Dr. Lowe that, given the information provided by the department, the committee is content that there is already a number of programmes operating in Northern Ireland that address the aims of the prevent strategy, or whether we wish to meet with him to discuss his proposals? The only difficulty we have in relation to that, members, is just the issue of time, and clearly I think Rachel?
Thanks, Chair. Just to put on record, I have met separately with David Lowe on this matter.
Okay, well then, are we content, members, just to forward the information as has been provided to us by the department? Agreed? Thank you. Can I just say that we have just received, I'll deal with this now in correspondence. Yes, do I deal with that now, the ministers?
Or under AOB.
AOB, right, okay. That's all right. Members, are we content to then action the items of the correspondence as set out in both cover sheets? Agreed? Thank you. You'll be glad to know there's no chairman's business. And there's a couple of issues then that we want to deal with under any other business. First one is the Criminal Justice Committal Reform Bill. It's just to inform members that the Criminal Justice Committal Reform Bill has received royal assent Criminal Justice Committal Reform Act Northern Ireland 2022 became law on the 7th of March 2022. This is one in relation to your attendance. So the headmaster is going to have to say something now about your attendance at the committee. But this is just to let you know that the attendance figures are available via the Assembly website, and this link will be included in the committee's legacy report. Committee staff will be checking the attendance figures for accuracy against the records held. However, members may also wish to check their attendance record as well and let the clerk know if they believe the record is accurate or otherwise. The link to the attendance record will be emailed to the committee members after this meeting. Then we have just received a letter from the Minister providing an update on the Economic Crime Bill and a potential LCM, and we're emailing that to you now. And given the speed the bill is moving in Westminster, we can refer to the letter which we'll do under AOB, and maybe ask Christine to outline the contents of it, and just in case there's anything else that we need to raise in relation to it. Christine?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've just received the letter in from the Minister. Members may recall that she wrote to the committee on the 3rd of March about the Economic Crime Transparency and Enforcement Bill. The bill is part of the UK Government's response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine and contains provisions to strengthen the regime relating to unexplained wealth orders, which the Minister supported in principle and wished to see introduced as soon as possible. She had advised the committee she was seeking legal advice from the Attorney-General about the issue of legislative consent and giving further consideration to the way forward. Her preferred option would have been to have discussion and debate on the issue, but in this case, in the absence of a functioning executive, the advice is that to consider and agree the request for an LCM combined with the urgent timescales are not conducive to securing Assembly agreement to an LCM. So the Minister intends to lay a memorandum before the Assembly explaining why she hasn't brought forward an LCM. She has written to the UK Government to note her support in principle for the unexplained wealth order related provisions, even though she can't bring forward the LCM. And she also intends to make a written ministerial statement to ensure the Assembly is appropriately informed insofar as the provisions relate to the Department of Justice. In taking this course of action, she was pleased to note that the Justice Committee was supportive in principle of the UWO provisions, and to date ministerial colleagues have likewise not raised any objections. The bill in Westminster has progressed at pace, and the timings as originally envisaged have been compressed a number of times, and the Minister understands that the bill is estimated to complete all stages with royal assent expected by the 15th of March at the latest. In her view, she said, it is important that the proceeds of crime are not beyond reach in this jurisdiction, and she trusts that the committee remains supportive of these efforts to strengthen the unexplained wealth order related provisions and understand the approach that she's had to take in the current context. The pressing humanitarian crisis in Ukraine is of collective concern, and I trust that we will continue to work together to ensure that Northern Ireland plays its part in the overall response.
Thank you, Christine. Sinead Bradley?
Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Christine, for that. Christine, you've said that what the Minister's intentions are. Have we any indication of dates? Has she? Is this something she's bringing to the Business Committee, or when is she laying this memorandum or making the statement? She hasn't said, has she?
I'm just checking, Sinead, and no, she just says I intend to lay a memorandum before the Assembly and I intend to make a written ministerial statement. But no, she hasn't indicated when. She's just indicated that she understands the bill is estimated to complete all stages with royal assent expected by the 15th of March in Westminster. So
Maybe to help Sinead, it might, if you look at the order paper for next week, it's due the final stage of the Justice Bill. Now, whether or not the Minister makes request that it may, I'm only saying that this is a possibility, we'll not know, but that is a possibility that it might be done next Tuesday. there's nothing the Minister has in the House on Monday. That's not to say that it wouldn't be on Monday.
The only thing is it's a written ministerial statement, so she can table it at any stage, is my understanding. So she could bring it forward tomorrow, for example.
She could, yeah.
We can check if you want.
No, it's fine. It sounds like there is a bit of urgency behind it. I'm getting that from it. So thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The other one that I want to bring to your attention is a letter that we've received from Jane Brady, the head of the Northern Ireland Civil Service, and it's really to inform us of some changes within the Permanent Secretary's appointments. I'll just read you the correspondence. Following the conclusion of a recent open recruitment exercise, the Permanent Secretaries wish to advise that effective from the 1st of April, Neil Gibson will take up post as Permanent Secretary of the Department of Finance and Personnel, and express thanks to Colin Boyle for covering this post. Colin will be appointed to the Department for Communities with effect from the 25th of April, and pending Colin's arrival, Moira Doherty has been temporarily promoted with DFC with effect from the 7th of March. Katrina Godfrey will transfer from her current Permanent Secretary role at the Department for Infrastructure to the Department of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. And again, Jane records her thanks to Anthony Harbison for holding the DERA post on the interim basis. Julie Harrison will be appointed at the Department for Infrastructure with both appointments effective from April. Additionally, I can advise that Richard Pengelly and Peter May will exchange Permanent Secretary roles, with Richard transferring from the Department of Health to DOJ and Peter moving from DOJ to head up the Department of Health with effect from the 1st of April 2022. So that's the changes that will take place, and it would only be right of me on behalf of the committee to express our thanks and appreciation to Peter May for the time that he has been as Permanent Secretary at the Department of Justice. I've already conveyed my own best wishes to him as he will take up his new post in the Department of Health, and on behalf of the committee I think it would be right and proper that we send a note to the Permanent Secretary to thank him for his work, and he was always amenable and he was certainly always helpful in ensuring that officials attended the committee as well. So we thank him for that help and support. Sinead Bradley, just want to check you.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, Chair.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Just like to echo your words. I think you're right, and I'd like to wish all those incoming to their posts the very best and congratulate them. But I wasn't clear, Chair, because it does refer to an open competition, and then additionally, and I don't know then are all who are new recruits and who are sort of internal manoeuvres or shuffling around. Can we just get a bit of clarity on that?
Yes.
But I do wish everybody well. I
Yes.
don't want to come out
No,
with any other.
and I appreciate that, Sinead, and I think, and also I think we should also express and say that we wish the new Permanent Secretary of the Department of Justice, Richard Pengelly, all the best, and whoever is in this post and whoever's in this committee will have the opportunity to work with Richard when he after the election. In terms of the process, I understand those two processes, but we can get more information. But there was an external process where they had gone out looking for a couple of posts that had been advertised, and then there was an internal process. I think I'm right in saying that Neil Gibson was the one who was came as a result of the external post, and the rest of them all are in-house. Julie Harrison, I'm not sure, was Julie internal?
Julie Harris was in the Department of Justice.
Yes, yes, Julie was in the Department of Justice. So there's been a bit of change, and also I should have maybe read the final paragraph in the correspondence so that you know. Obviously, Jane Brady, the head of civil servant, says I know that you will join me in wishing everyone every success in these hugely important roles. I'd also take this opportunity to express my thanks and best wishes to Tracy Maharg on her forthcoming retirement. I understand that Tracy has now left, that has now been met, and I would also wish Tracy all the best in her retirement. I had the privilege of having Tracy as a member of my department when I was the Minister in DSD, and valued greatly her assistance at that time. So I wish Tracy all the best in her retirement. Okay, members, if there's no other issues in relation to any of that, that brings us, I have to say, is the shortest meeting that I have ever presided over in the Justice Committee. That the next meeting will take place on Tuesday the 22nd at 10:30 a.m. and if you just notice that it says 10:30 a.m. in room 30. The meeting will be to agree the committee's legacy report and deal with any correspondence that comes following the meeting, and the time of the meeting may need to be adjusted in due course to take account of justice related business in plenary on that day, but members will be kept updated. If there's no other business that anybody has, and I thank you for your time, for your help during the meeting today, and look forward to seeing you all, Lord willing, next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly.